This is the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abish, founder of Abish Financial Services.
A lot of firms out there say they will do tax planning, say they will do Social Security planning and RMD planning, and typically they just do investment management. They want your money.
You've worked hard your whole life to earn and save. Now you need a plan to make that money work hard for you.
Where do you stand today with your retirement accounts, with your insurance, with Social Security, RMDs, taxes, all of it? This is how we need to think. We need to think outside of the box on these matters.
Abe is here to help you unlock the keys to your retirement.
Have you recovered from now Valentine's Day has long come and gone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But there's a bit of a situation unfolding in the Abish household.
Yeah, but the Valentine's Day gift isn't in yet. So
that's what I was going to say. Didn't Shelley accuse you of the same thing that happened at Christmas time? And am I always going to be waiting weeks after the holidays?
It seems to be an issue. At least I'm remembering to get the gifts, but the gifts aren't coming on time. And I'm not sure if that's my fault or the sender's fault. It's pretty much my fault.
I'm not going to comment on whose fault it is, but I am going to maybe start making notes to myself of maybe reminding you a month out, order Shelley's gifts now.
I'll take that reminder because Shelley's like, is this the new norm, Abe? Like, am I just going to always get my presents late now? Because she loves to be surprised. She loves to get gifts. And she likes them to be on time, and I don't blame her. So we're going to have to work on that a little bit.
I was giving you some defense earlier just to remind her that, it just gives her more time to enjoy the suspense of what she's going to get for the
That's right.
for the holiday gift. Well,
right.
I'm sure that there are significant others around the Northern Virginia area that are nodding and understanding and agreeing because... shipping problems have happened to us all. So I know you're not on that boat alone, Abe.
Hopefully not.
As always, things that we have to focus on when it comes to the idea of not procrastinating on our plans for our financial future. A lot of us are having realizations with the current environment we're living in. Abe, we are now at the highest level of inflation in 40 years. The latest numbers show it's 7.5% year over year. That paves the way for interest rate increases by the Fed to cool things down. So we're wondering just how many we should expect. Experts who watch the market are predicting 7, but Atlanta Federal Reserve President Raphael Bostic, he tells Yahoo Finance he doesn't think we'll see that high of a number.
Right now, in my estimate, I've got 3, but there's a lot of data that's going to come in, and I'm assuming that those other forecasts have thoughts about what's going to happen in terms of inflation and what's going to happen in terms of job growth, and that's going to inform how policy plays out. What the long arc looks like, I think it's really hard to lean in too much on that at this stage.
Abe, what do you see affecting the market more? A rate hike every other month? Or the expectation of 0.25% and we get a 0.5 point? Also, I brought up a lot of numbers and a lot of things to think about here. I'm not even exactly sure how to make sense out of all of this.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying here. And I think there's 2 things going on, Heather.
Okay.
The Federal Reserve is going to be raising rates supposedly several times this year, and the first one start as early as March.
Right.
And at the same time, the Federal Reserve is going to be tapering and slowing down the cash injection into the system that we've seen the last few years, really going all the way back to 2008. But then again, when COVID hit 2 years ago in March of 2020, 2 things happened simultaneously: the lowering of interest rates to almost zero and the pumping of trillions of dollars of cash into the economy and the systems and the markets. And the markets loved that. Yeah. And while March of 2020 was the worst month in stock market history, April was one of the best months in stock market history. And we've been riding this last, few years, this cash injection wave. And as we can see, starting off 2022, the markets do not like what is likely to happen. And that's, again, the raising of rates and the tapering, the pulling back at the same time.
Okay.
And so that's kind of what's been going on. Also, other world events like this whole Ukraine-Russia deal and other things that are just kind of putting the markets on edge a little bit. The markets like certainty, not uncertainty. And there's more uncertainty going on right now than certainty. So there is a lot we can't control, Heather, but there is a lot we can.
Okay.
So we just try to focus on what we can control.
Right.
And in terms of our retirement plans, it's how much risk we're taking. It's how much taxes are we paying. It's where are our dollars located. And what are our goals and objectives, and how does all of this impact our lives, right? And so we try to control what we can. We just had a couple call in, and they actually found us on our podcast. So this gentleman drives a lot all over the area, a lot, like 40 to 50,000 miles a year,
Wow.
a lot. I drive about 12,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
Because, from door to door, the front door of my house to the front door of our office is only about 8 or 9 miles.
Right.
And that was done on purpose. So I used to drive a lot, now very little. But this gentleman is on the road a ton. He and his wife are in their early 60s and late 50s, and they have a lot of money saved. They have close to $2 million saved. They've done a fantastic job of accumulating and saving, but he knew he needed a different type of retirement plan for the phase 2 part of his life. In other words, he knows that he is transitioning out of work soon and into full retirement. And when he's asking his current advisor, hey, what about Social Security? When do I take that? Do you have any advice around how to lower and mitigate tax? Do you have any advice around how to lower and mitigate risk? Do you have any advice around how to create income from my portfolio? The advice, or I guess the look that he's getting from his current advisor is this just like glazed over look, we don't do that here.
Right.
So he started searching around for podcasts, retirement planning podcasts on Spotify and iTunes and Google Play, and found ours coming up at one of the top retirement planning podcasts here in the DC area. And so, working with people 55 and up, the type of planning we do for our clients' retirement plans is very different than when you're 40, 45, and 50, because when you're 40, if the markets go down 50%, you're still 40 years old.
That's right.
And 20 to 25 years away from retiring probably. Here is this couple looking to retire in about like 5 to 6 years, so they still have a little bit of time. They're not retiring in 2022, but they want to know how close or far are they away from being able to pull the trigger when they want to. So here's another example of a classic couple doing a great job of saving, but just other than having money in 401ks and IRAs and brokerage accounts, no plan really for anything else. Like no income plan, no roadmap, no plan to lower tax if possible, no plan for the income gap that they'll have in 5 to 6 years when they retire. Basically, they have this portfolio and Social Security checks, but no pensions and things like that. So they have this gap of income that they have to fill when they retire.
Got it.
What was the solution for them? Much like a lot of other clients that we meet with, was starting with an income plan, a roadmap, a GPS for their retirement. It shows them where they stand right now and how close or far they are away from retiring in 5 or 6 years. A plan to fill that income gap when they do retire. A plan to currently reduce risk somewhat right now. A plan for taxes. Also an estate plan. They wanted a connection and an introduction to start basically setting up wills and trusts. And so for anyone listening right now, if you sound a little bit like this couple, you're in your early 60s, late 50s, maybe even mid 60s, you haven't retired yet, and you're looking for help, you're looking for some guidance, you may be working with an advisor out there who has helped you invest your money, and the conversations are about investments, but not the next phase of your life, that phase 2 retirement part of your life. That person might not be talking about income, reducing risk, planning for taxes, planning for inflation, planning for healthcare, and all these things. Go to retirementkeyradio.com, click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page, and we can begin this planning process for you as well.
All right, Abe, I'm not sure how much you were keeping up with all of the games going on in China. I love watching the Olympics, so I'm here for it. And I was really into watching Shaun White because we were all watching him do his last run snowboarding as the 35-year-old is retiring after winning 5 medals, 3 of them gold. And CNBC actually got to ask Shaun what the best financial advice he ever received was.
Somebody sat me down and really explained the concept of compounding interest. You learn it as a kid, right? You want a penny today, and I'll double this penny. It's letting your money work for you rather than being out there trying to make moves. It doesn't sound as enticing as this big, elaborate plan to, be financially stable, but it's definitely proven through time.
This sounds like great advice, particularly for younger investors, Abe, but as we constantly point out, you work with folks that are coming to you a bit later on in life, this phase 2 of their financial life into retirement, hopefully turning this tip into a very nice nest egg in that phase. So what's the most important piece of financial advice that you give to somebody at this stage?
Avoid large losses. I'll say it again, probably the number one thing that a retiree can do to help themselves in phase 2. You are now retired. You're not working anymore. You're probably drawing down and withdrawing money out of your portfolio instead of putting money in, is to avoid large losses. How do you do that? By de-risking, by reducing risk and not investing like a 40-year-old anymore. Why? Right. Because you're retired. You're not collecting a paycheck anymore. You're collecting paychecks from your portfolio. You do not want to be forced to go back to work, and simply lowering the chance of you ever having a negative 20, negative 25, negative 35, negative 40 or more % loss can drastically improve the chances of having a successful retirement. So I would say the biggest piece of advice we could give is to avoid large losses.
Got it.
And so we just had a lady recently call in, and she's in her late 50s. She's getting close to retirement. She's got $1 million saved. She's here in Ashburn, Virginia. Mm-hmm. She's a middle of the road investor, moderate on our risk scale. And 2 issues with her. She had about $500,000 of this $1 million is sitting in cash because she just sold a condo.
Okay.
And it's sitting on the sidelines. We call that dead money here on the show because, you know, if it's sitting there for too long, this last 12 months, we've just seen, 7%, 7.5% year over year inflation. Yes, we know that's not going to be here forever, hopefully. Long-term inflation is typically 2.5%, 3%. So she was looking for help and ways and suggestions for getting some of that cash off the sideline. But then we also found out she was taking on too much risk in her 401k. And what we do for people, Heather, you know, when we put these comprehensive plans together for people, one of the things we present them is an investment and risk analysis. Like, what are the strengths and weaknesses? What are the pros and cons of your current positions? You should know that before making any change. What does that include? Well, if you don't make any change, what's your potential annual return? How much risk are you taking to get that return? If we have another 2008, what would the loss be if we had another 2008? What are your dividends and what are your fees and expenses? And oftentimes we'll find that if we have another 2008, someone could lose between 20 to 40, maybe sometimes even 50% of their life savings if we have another 2008. And then we'll put that into a figure, not just a percentage. Like, lady, did you know that you have $1 million here, and if we lose 50% of your portfolio, you would be down to $500,000?
Right.
And would you have to continue working, or would you be okay? And most people would not be okay with that. What was the solution for her? Basically a cash management analysis and a complementary investment analysis. Your cash needs as much management as your investments. And so for this lady, we helped her with both. A plan to get a lot of that extra dead money off the sidelines, working harder for her, and then an investment and risk analysis so she could see her current positions and the strengths and weaknesses of those.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Key Podcast with Abe Abish. To learn more about Abish Financial Services, visit retirementkeyradio.com. And join Abe for his radio show, The Retirement Key, Saturdays at 2 p.m. on WMAL.
Patrick Volk is an investment advisor representative of J. Hagan Capital, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Abraham Abish and Patrick Volk are licensed in your state, please call 571-577-9968. Abish Financial Services is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Abraham Abish or Patrick Volk. NPN number 770-3575 and NPN number 727-978.